you too emotional to lose weight? What an interesting title. But I think if people will click on this with openness, this is going to hit some people.
When you're talking about something that may be perceived as a weakness, people get a little bit tender about that. Wait a minute. And some, it's interesting though, some just come just like, hey, bring it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We applaud those people.
I got problems. Please, somebody help me.
Call me out and make it click with me so that I can try to change it.
Yeah.
There's the good soil. We hope that there's a lot of good soil watching this.
Yeah. Now, there are those, and I remember a couple that was coming to me years ago, and we would meet on Thursday nights and have kind of a therapy session, and they were like, they were from New York, and one was kind of Italian. We ain't coming to therapy. We don't need therapy. We just like to party, and we love to eat. We don't need the the psychobabble, whatever. And I was like, okay, fine. And some people don't think they do, and that's fine. Maybe they don't. But there is this, I heard a guy talking about the Titanic sinking, and he said the Titanic didn't sink because of what we saw, what was observable. He said it was the ice that was under the water. It's what's going on underneath. And we choose, I'm going to lose weight. And then we realize I've got this stuff going on inside and underneath that really maybe is not quite as obvious and observable that's taking me down. And you can choose a behavior for a while and say, I'm just going to do this. But eventually what's going on underneath and inside your life is going to be exposed and make it challenging.
As we get started, let me ask you this. When it comes to weight loss, if we pulled everyone that watches your channel that needs to lose at least 30 pounds, would you say that this issue, this topic right here, are you too emotional to lose weight? Is that one of the primary reasons they have not lost the weight? Because of an emotional dissonance?
Words. That's a tough one because I know so many people. I do think there's a wide array. Some people would just say, I just don't care. This is just not a priority to me. And then you say, well, is that an emotional issue? Is there an emotional issue going on? So I think sometimes there is emotional things going on that we don't recognize.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes maybe there's not. Okay, then why are you fat? It's like, you got no emotional problems and you're still fat?
We'll deal with you later.
We'll deal with you later.
You can probably find your reason in another one of our videos.
Shouldn't we have a reason? Shouldn't we? What's your reason?
Are we able to kind of explore, to pinpoint, are you in this boat of the emotional, over-emotional? That's what's keeping you from
How do you know?
weight?
How do you know if you have an emotional issue? Yeah, when I think about it, I think about people that they're struggling with something in their life. Who's not struggling with something in their life? Their husband's aloof. Their kids are rough, and they're not responding to the training. Their job is not the way they would like it. Their finances aren't quite there, and they got all this stuff going on, but there's Oreos in the kitchen. And every time you walk through there,
that's my one constant.
That's the one constant that I can control. It gives me something that I'm looking for. Who's not going to do that? Who's not going to turn to that drug when it helps?
I'll admit that for me, I enjoy sweets in the evening. I kind of stay away from them throughout the day and then in the evening. And I appreciate that I can count on them. I appreciate that I can sit down on my couch at 10 at night and eat my stuff. So, I mean...
Yes. So what's different in you than the person that's 50 pounds overweight? Because I think then some would say, well, their issue is they're not eating... Some would say they're not eating any more than you, but they have health problems.
Right.
Do you think that's true?
I would say I've... Without getting too off track on the emotional stuff, because I want to keep pinpointing if you are in this category, in this camp, but I do kind of budget it. I think that's a fair way to say it.
You budget it.
I budget it.
Right. It's when it's out of control, then we're like, okay, well, your emotional life is such that this is going to be really difficult. I'm working with a lady right now, and she's got some really high goals to the point where I'm like, don't tell anybody. People will think we're crazy with what you're trying to do in this short period of time, but I'm willing to help. And
Big weight loss,
short period of
time.
and she's just going all in and getting up really early in the morning, and she has kids and she has a family and she has some health problems, and I'm like, you really think you're going to be able to do this? Especially when she sends me her day and it says 1 hour of sleep, and I'm like, okay, you're doing all this and you got 1 hour of sleep last night. And I told her, I said, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. Not long term. You can do one night like that, but long term, that will take you out, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. You can have all these great things going in your life, but if you're emotionally a train wreck, what's going to keep you from doing stupid things? If you're emotionally a train wreck, now you may choose to still do some things, right? Because you know people, you see them at their worst and you're like, how does this person function, right? Because you saw them in the midst of maybe a little bit of an emotional breakdown. But see, for them, you don't see it, but for them, that happens with regularity. And what do they turn to when that happens? It's just one of the easiest things. It's like they've decided, you know what? As bad as it is, I'm not going to do crack. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get drunk.
Some are. I'm not going to punch people.
Plenty of people are. I'm not going to punch people. But, buddy, these Oreos, look, I'm doing this virtuously. I'm handling my deep issues with some level of virtue, because I'm not going to porn, you know. Can you say that without getting flagged on here?
Just don't say it again.
I'm not going to do this stuff, but man, I just go to Oreo. It's kind of like I'm better than most people that are struggling with this. Mm-hmm. Are you now? Yeah, I do think there are levels of things. Yeah, levels. It's better to do that than to do crack. Can we agree?
Yeah, I agree.
It's better to do that than to do crack.
Do you think it's important to just go ahead and realize it and sit on this for a second? Just like sit on this realization that likely you are going to food, abusing food because you're overeating and you're overweight.
Yeah.
You're abusing the Oreos because you have not allotted that budget. You've not budgeted that in to your calorie count for the day or whatever. And you're abusing that food and overeating because it's a coping mechanism for you.
Yeah.
Is that just that should we sit on that?
Pretty clear. This is a coping mechanism for me. I overeat.
Yeah.
Maybe get away from I have health problems, right? Maybe get away from I have metabolism issues.
This is how I'm coping with the stresses of my life.
I eat food that has nothing to do with hunger. I'm just trying to get through the day and get through a tough moment. And there's too many of those moments.
Do you want the people watching to just sit on that for a moment?
Sit on that.
And say, yep, that's okay. You're right. That is me.
Yes. And so why does that continue, and why do we not get well from that? I think is maybe the next thing. And I've got a couple of thoughts on that. One is, it's kind of like we just said, it's better than crack. Mm-hmm. And it is, right?
Trade-off.
It is. It's a trade. It's better than crack. But because we think it's better than crack, we're not going to deal with it. So I would encourage you to decide it's not better than crack. Because if it was crack, all your friends would be telling you how horrible it is, and you would have to eventually come to terms and realize this is killing me. But because it's just food, we're going to do it till we die. And you'll die with food just like you would with crack. And people hear me like, you need to focus on something else. You take this way too far. If you'll take it that far, you'll quit doing it. And that's where I end up. It's like, okay, I've talked about the lady. I said, you want to move into my basement? And everybody's like, is she going to move into your basement? She needs to lose 200 pounds. She's going to die. This is terrible. She can't hardly walk. No, she's not going to move into my basement, because in her mind, all I do is overeat a little bit. Yeah, I turn to food. I ain't doing this or that. Well, I wish I could say
that she
it turned out better.
Figured it out.
But that's the thing. And I get it. I've had things where I should have responded quicker and saw more seriously, and it takes oftentimes too long. Why does it take so long? Why do you think we'll continue what I like to say is living the lie? Living a lie. Would most people agree, if I continue to live that way, I'm believing a lie? Because behind every self-destructive thing we do is a lie we believe. Isn't that true? When I look back on my issues in the past, I do think that's true. And I think most, when they think about it, will agree that's true. What is the lie when I keep turning to food? this will make my life better. And what actually happens, it gives me a moment of a drug effect, and it makes my life worse. Why did I believe it makes my life better? Because I'm focusing on that moment rather than my life. I'm focusing on that moment rather than my life. So yes, it gave me what I needed in the moment. Why think about past that? And that's, what is it in us that allows that to happen? Because I heard a preacher say one time, he said, when we're thinking about changing, and he was talking about another addiction, he said, and people think, I can't overcome this. And he said, here's the deal. And this is a real popular pastor, but
Okay.
I don't want to promote him necessarily, but he said, when the stakes are high enough and sure enough, you'll quit.
Yeah, it's good.
When the stakes are high enough, they got to be high stakes, and you got to see them as high. Because in my mind, it's not when the stakes are high, because they're obviously high. You have to perceive them as being high. That's why I say, well, it's just food. It's not crack. Maybe if you would perceive it like crack, you would do something, and that's what we don't do. When the stakes are high enough and sure enough, you know where this is going. But with food, it's like, well, maybe things will get better eventually. We don't know where it's going. At least that's what we tell ourselves. Maybe it's just going to get better, and I'm not going to keep getting bigger. I'm not going to keep getting less healthy. I'm not going to get more and more bondage to it. And it's like, so we don't believe that. So we live a lie. We don't walk in the truth. And that's what we do. And it's, do we really want to go this deep? And that's like the couple I was working with. Oh, Joe, this stuff, we just like to party and have fun and eat. Okay. And you're 100 pounds overweight. What do you want to do with that? You see the lady on our YouTube channel, she said she really likes our stuff. She said, I'm going to do your program. She said, I'm going to do your 21-day transformation. But
Good.
She said, but first I want to get my mind straight.
Oh, no, not another one of those.
First, she said, as soon as I get my mind right, I'm going to join one of your 21-day transformations.
I'm not being hard on you. I'm not gasping out of... We hear that. That's somewhat of a common thing. It reminds me of the person that says, I'm going to start going to church once I start getting closer to God. Type thing, and
go to the doctor once I start feeling better is what.
And it's like no,
because they don't see us as part of the solution. They see us as after the solution,
after they figured it out.
And I'm no, this is therapy.
Let us in, let God in.
You think I feel like getting up and going downstairs and working out in the mornings? No, I don't. That's why I bought. Did you see that speaker I bought? Big old speaker.
Yeah.
Because I go down there and I'm like, I'm not quite feeling it yet, and I turn it up.
Yeah. To give you
I turn it up because you've got to get something that gets you going. Yeah. You can't wait until you're going to do therapy. This is part of therapy.
Right. Well, when I said let us in and then let God in, I wasn't saying us and God no, I'm saying like let God in by going to church and helping that stir that up. Or what he's describing, getting that music going to stir that up and make this a thing. Let us in to stir that up and get these mental switches flicking.
Yeah, this is not for after you're well.
It's not for after you're well.
This is part of getting well. And that's what people are like. I'll get it together, then I'll go do these things that are for healthy people. So what the heck are you talking about? That's the reason you're not healthy, is you think you're going to get healthy first and then start doing healthy things. If you have 6 problems, then you overeat, now you have 7 problems. And we think, I got to get that fixed first. And I get it. That's what we want to do because we want to be in control. The Israelites were set free from Egypt. And what did they soon do? They looked back to Egypt because that was sure. I know I'm a slave. I know they're going to feed me. I know what my job is. And I'm a slave. And they looked back where God was saying, no, I'm taking you into freedom. But why do we have difficulty with that? And I was thinking about this morning. It's not as certain. We're having to depend on God, and we let go of control. And I think a big part of this is we don't want to let go of control. And I've had people, even close friends, say, I've thought about doing your program, Joe, but one buddy, he said, I've thought about doing it like 9 times. I thought about doing your program. But then I think about when I come home from work and I get to control the way I feel. Because I come home from work and put the kids to bed and I get to do my thing. And it's like, if I give this to you, you're going to have me do something I'm not quite so sure about. And it scares them. It's scary.
Yeah, that does almost remind me of something more nefarious. That kind of mindset, the way that he put that. I get to get home. I get to put the kids to bed to where it's just me and myself.
And do my thing.
And then I get to unleash. And all the, whatever indulgence you want to call it.
It's like raccoons in there. Who's in the kitchen?
And I think you kind of can think about it like that a little bit.
Anytime I lighten it up, guys, and make fun, it's because I think you're goofy. No, it's because I think it's helping. I think it's going to be helpful if we just get real. Isn't that real? Can y'all just be honest? Can we all be honest?
Let's be
honest.
All
got problems. You got a problem. And if you're going to make light of it, you're going to stay in it. You've got to take this more seriously. And I'm thankful that I get to be part of helping people take it more seriously. I'm not going to be the guy that says, "Oh, well, I understand why you're that way. Stay that way." I'm not that guy. And you're not the person. You're not the person that's going to stay that way, or you wouldn't be coming back to this. So let's go. It's time. You can do it. Let's do it.
Comment below, you guys. We want to hear from you and make the comment section a place where you can go and be like, "Oh wow, this person, I've seen this person comment before, and they are like speaking to me through their own personal testimony and their own victories or struggles." Or let's all enter into these conversations and let the comment section be a really encouraging place. So drop your comment below. Thoughts on this video, thoughts on the emotional tied in with the struggle to lose weight. Do you feel like that's very real for you? Let us know. Let's build this community together. Thanks for watching, guys. We're here for you.
Because the only thing you need to do to have a new life is give up your old one. What are you holding on to that's so valuable, that loves you so much? What is in that old way of doing things that is so valuable you just can't bear the thought of a new life that means you let go of that life?
A lot of good little one-liners in this video.
Hey.
Tweetable one-liners.
You
Tweet them. Write them down. Put them above your doorpost. Put them above your doorpost. The ones that will help you train your brain.
Hey, wait a minute. Because this part of this, Paul, because it's a little shorter one, I feel like. Part of this is, there's just so much going on in my life. I just don't know where to start.
Okay.
I don't even know where to start. This is great. Thanks, guys. But where do I start? And I was thinking about that this morning, and I thought of who better. And it's like, I heard somebody say, the only person I'm going to let identify me is who made me. And I think we really do need to go back to what's it all about. And you can do whatever you decide that means. But for me, and I know for you, it's what does God say about this? And a few things I would leave you with. What does God say about this to get your life right? One thing is he says, seek the kingdom first. So if you're not sure about anything, there's some things we are sure about. And he says, seek the kingdom first. He says, think on these things. And he tells us in Philippians and other places, these are things that you should be thinking about. Okay, think about those things. He tells us that, Paul tells us all things are permissible, not all things are beneficial, and I won't be a slave to anything. If you're a slave to something, you know good and well that's not right. Deal with it. And then he says in Romans, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. If you're not getting a renewed mind and focusing on renewing the way you think, then you're missing something. So there are some things that are very clear that God gives us to help us to get out of this, and it's worth not just considering those things, but making those things a priority.
Yeah, I 1000% agree.
Let's go.
I had a really good segue before you jumped into the last thing.
Great segue right now.
Well, I had a really good one.
Okay, try it.
Into our final closing phrase.
Give it a try.
Can't remember what I said before, but we'll bring it home with, guys, until next video, train your brain.
And transform your body.